I'm Tanzira Khan from Pakistan, and this is my 5-day low budget, soulful trip to Mexico City from the lens of a wheelchair user. I'm with my friend Dema, who's from Bhutan. So, now being a Punjabi, food is my weakness, and we get straight to the point by rolling down our windows and trying what we can right away.
What's this called? Name?
Goma,
Goma?
goma es gomita.
Gomita.
What?
It's like sweet chili.
Is it good? No? Shit. Okay, let's try the
It's
other
like-
one. No, don't thank you.
No, it's not spicy at all.
No, but is it good or not? Not bad, but it's not what we were looking for.
Yeah. I hope it's not sweet. Okay, not sweet.
It's spicy?
Peanut.
Spicy peanuts.
A little bit.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can have all. Oh.
All. No.
Yeah, it's like not.
As a wheelchair user, I always prefer the streets because the streets belong to everyone, and visibility on streets is the first step of inclusion to be part of the community life. With occasional bumps and broken roads, we still found our way and saw the city more intimately. There is color and story in every corner or on the walls. Walking around these neighborhoods make me wonder about the people and their lives who lived here. Street and food are also married together, and our wanderings led us to this stall of fried banana chips, which I loved instantly. And then it was followed by frozen yogurt of taro. This is a vegetable I have never seen or eaten, but I liked it. After a little maneuvering and having this yummy hot chocolate, I learned two things. One, that the city is getting ready for the Day of the Dead, hence these colorful skulls and death themed products. I also learned that there are buses that have ramps, but considering the language barrier and time, I chose Uber XL, which costed me 5 times more than the regular commute, also because my wheelchair could not fold and come in a regular car. This extra cost is what I call the disability tax. Our first activity was the National Museum of Anthropology. Most museums across the world are mostly accessible and have free entries for people with disabilities. This is a great example to give access of knowledge to every individual based on rights, and I insist everyone to take full advantage and visit museums to experience the history of a place from their own perspective. This museum had indoor and outdoor exhibitions, and one day was definitely not enough for it. So, I'm very sensitive when it comes to energies, and I could feel my energy draining when I saw the history and culture of Mexico develop in these visual displays. It's actually mentally exhausting because there's too much mental labor, but mixing learning with tourism is always a wholesome experience to feel a city's core. I saw Mexican culture, history, customs, family systems, and the interesting history of religions, tribes, and rituals of Mexico. Then it was time to eat, and I used this lift, but I still had to call someone to get me down. Many places were accessible, but either help was still needed or with minor errors, I still had to use a chair to use the bathroom, for example, or ask someone else to push me. This is a common accessibility level in most developing countries.
Mayo, cheese, spicy.
Little bit.
Nada.
No, salt.
Solo sal.
This corn has to be one of the most unusual corns I've ever seen. Firstly, it is huge with flavoring of salt, but it also tastes like pasta. I could not finish it, but I really liked it. Dema and I explored a nearby park as night fell, and we tried more street food as much as we could. Fun fact that Dema is a vegetarian and I'm a practicing Muslim, so our choice of food was always vegetarian, and as I cannot have meat, which is not halal, I also chose vegetarian food. So the day had ended, but our love for Mexico had just begun, so we hailed an Uber and headed to Garibaldi Square. It's very common to see performers in Mexico on streets who entertain us and show their talents, and we always appreciate them by being an audience. Garibaldi is a common tourist place for mariachi performers who can also do a private show for you, or you can find a bar. This place is also known as the most unsafe for anyone due to the high unemployment rate. But ironically, me and Dema both did not feel unsafe at all, and in fact, felt quite looked after by everyone. I guess hospitality is something that we need to talk more often about a place, even if it is known for being unsafe. So we found this bar that had a wheelchair sign right at the entrance and felt welcomed like anything. And then it was time to enjoy some amazing performances by Fernando and his group.
Aunque sigas viviendo, para mí ya está.
Pakistan!
De Pakistán, bienvenida, claro que sí. Por acá, también Colombia. Precioso regalo.
Garibaldi was just amazing. Before we left the place, we also purchased local dresses for a very special visit the next day to the Frida Kahlo Museum. But the next day, before we went that way, we had to have a very special stop at a bakery we discovered the night before. They make the best bread in the world. I can't believe we don't give enough credit to Mexican bread because it is unique in shapes and flavors. Everything we tasted at this bakery was tasty. Whether it had to be crispy or soft, and many items had a surprise filling in between. The coffee was bitter and bland, but that makes sense to ensure that their bread stays in the limelight. Also, this bakery was open 24/7, and it kind of makes sense because it's near to Garibaldi, so maybe the performers can pick up food items from here once they're heading home. So after our tummy was filled, we headed to the Frida Kahlo Museum. We had pre-booked our time slot online, which is recommended because the queue is very long, but once you go in, you can stay as long as you like. Dema and I had a very special way of visiting this fellow feminist's house, and she purchased jewelry for both of us. The entire house had a history of Frida's childhood and trajectory of life, love, and tragedy. As we both were women with disabilities, we also shared the heart of an artist. I was curious to see how her life affected her creativity. We saw her living space, prosthetics, even dresses that were designed to conceal her disability, a thing that I also do with my skirts. There were ramps in most places, but where the ramps or lifts could not go, a volunteer would give a virtual tour to ensure I did not miss anything.
Hola. Sí, señorita, es para...
I really appreciated this effort by the museum to be inclusive because it is a step forward in making sure I don't have a reduced experience of a place than others.
Okay, wait. Can I take a picture? Momento. Okay, what does it mean? Disfruta. Huh? Disfruta. What does that mean?
So you're in this city that holds so many stories of magic and witchcraft. How can you not meet a local tarot card reader who actually read Dema's cards and said "Memento, memento," as in stay in the moment? This was also something me and Dema discussed earlier in the day, emphasizing that every moment of life must be lived.
We're going back to San Francisco. Okay, from there we're going to Hawaii. Okay. And she'll be there for again a few days. And then
Later in the evening, when it was the morning back home, then I called my mom. But then
She's from Bhutan, I'm from Pakistan.
Oh, I think they're going on the truck, so the basket is okay, great, wow.
Heading there through the streets of this small town reminded me of many villages in Pakistan, and these pyramids brought back memories of so many references we have seen in movies and have read in books. This is the image we mostly have when we are reading about visiting Mexico City, and now we were part of that image, and I was leaving my wheelchair marks here for everyone to know. The place was mostly flat, but because it was stony, it was a little hard to move the wheelchair. But who cares when you are driven and you want to see everything that the sun can reach and your wheelchair. After staying there for a couple of hours and also seeing the museum that talked about the history of the place and about the ritualistic human sacrifices, which was a lot to handle by the way, we headed back to the city, and on our way saw so many neighborhoods on the hillside, on the outskirts of the city. It's a big city and many people live outside, but I'm sure they would commute inside for work. We reached our hotel, and after a quick nap, me and Dema stepped out to explore the nightlife.
Sauce? Vanilla?
We had some buns at the Chinatown, walked around. Nightlife for me is about looking at the same city under the night sky as lights around us create an entirely different ambience. Also, the street vendors and the night market add additional activity of buying things and interacting with the local community. As a practicing Muslim, it's forbidden for me to consume any alcohol or even visit nightclubs. So my choices are to walk around and explore the streets, since I'm also not a huge fan of shopping, and the city has a lot to offer for me as well. So the next day was our last day in Mexico, and we wanted to make the best of it. It started from having an early lunch at a vegan restaurant where we got some help while going in and out. And then I wanted to look for some books by some local authors, but surprisingly I could not find any. Me and Dema then headed to the streets where the celebrations of the Day of the Dead was just starting. This entire country is known for its celebration, and celebrating death has to be the ultimate celebration. I also think such festivities reduces the misery of losing a loved one and helps individuals embrace the loss like a change and also a reality of life. entire day was us exploring the streets, and the streets offering so much. We were looking at people celebrating, checking out vendors and mascots. The evening also brought the streets to life as we saw artists and performers entertain us. I see this more of a display of humanity, community, empathy, and culture, and what drives us, which is our creative souls and the will to express.
Just finished.
A man paints with a remarkable technique of fire and spray paint, and the entire crowd stays captivated by his craft. He's also interactive and challenges the crowd to be a part of his art and conversation. But sadly, there is very little sale for such amazing interactive artists. I purchased a painting as my support for the community and art. Let's not forget, we are moving around in the city of Frida Kahlo. With a final goodbye to the strange, beautiful, and lively vibe of the city, me and Dema then headed back to our homes, savoring the memories of Mexico's street food, National and Frida Kahlo Museum, and of course, Teotihuacan. And then we were on to our next destination.